Ever since I've had my YouTube channel, I've always heard comments like, you look like so-and-so, and it's usually a comic. And, you know, other than, like, I have heard, like, in the last year when I have a goatee, somebody will say, you know, you look sort of like Charles Manson. That one is hysterical. I think that's funny. And, but only with the goatee. You know, if I don't have the goatee, they can't make that jump. But the thing that I hear lately, and I've heard this before, I heard this way back in Kansas City when I was driving a cab, and it was a black dude said, you look like the guy on Saturday Night Live, and he was talking about David Spade. And I chalked it up to, well, that's a black dude, all white guys look the same. But then recently, I've heard people say that I look like Joe Dirt. And Joe Dirt has long hair, and I had not watched Joe Dirt until about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, when I've heard this comment. But I see on YouTube, somebody will make a comment, and then somebody has to make the same comment like it's their original thought. And the Joe Dirt thing is sort of weird because I don't think I look like Spade. I do not look like David Spade. I got dark hair. I get real tan in the summer. You know, we just are about the same size. I'm 5'8". He's probably about 5'8" or a little shorter. But I don't really look like Spade. And the whole Joe Dirt thing, I don't really look like the character Joe Dirt either. Joe Dirt has, you know, he has a mullet. I don't have a mullet. I got a bad haircut right now, though. I need to go get a haircut. But the point is, I don't really look like him. Now, I do jump into character. That's true. And I do a deadpan. And if you watch the movie Joe Dirt, which I just did, you know, comedy is generally deadpan. You know, you don't want somebody that's, you know, cracking up at their own jokes. So in that respect, you could make the jump of like, yeah, when you do character, you know, you're sort of like Joe Dirt. My internet persona, who I choose to show you all, isn't necessarily me. It's just like if you see a movie or you watch TV, you don't really know that person. You don't know what Arnold Schwarzenegger is like. Well, yeah, we do. He's a politician. I wish he was our president, by the way. We wouldn't be having these problems. But he can't because he wasn't born in this country. It's a shame. I would have voted for Arnold. I would have. But this whole Joe Dirt thing, it just really doesn't make any sense. It's sort of like, I want to say, is that the best you could come up with? You know, like even when I'm in character, my character isn't, well, I was going to say it isn't like Joe Dirt, but a lot of times there is like this base type of humor. So in that respect, it would be. But there's so many examples that we could cite with like a base type of humor in comedy to single out this one Joe Dirt. Like, I don't dress like the character. I don't really look like Spade. I don't really look like the character or dress like the character. Unless you make some kind of jump, like Joe Dirt wore a flannel shirt in one scene, and I've seen you wear a flannel shirt. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I could see Charles Manson with a if I have a beard like a goatee. Like, yeah, if somebody wants to make a movie about Charles Manson and you want somebody to act in it, call me. I'll do it. I can act crazy. I can. I'm a fairly good actor. I mean, I don't have any, like, formal training, but, you know, I've been in friends of mine's films and shit like that. I can do it. So if anybody's working on a movie out there about Charles Manson, or you want to remake Joe Dirt without using Spade, I'll do it for cheaper. I'll do it for a lot cheaper. It's not a problem. I'll wear your mullet. I'll even grow my hair out into a mullet. It's a deal, but I don't see it. I don't really think I look like Spade. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I don't really think that when I go into character, I don't really see my shit as being anything like Joe Dirt other than it's sort of a base type of humor, you know. Joe Dirt? I like that movie, by the way. I watched it, and if I don't like a movie, I'll just turn it off. But I found myself watching all of it. You know, I think I watched the second Joe Dirt on Crackle. You know, one thing that I'll say about me is I don't really find myself watching other YouTubers. That's not really what I'm into. I'm not into watching to see what other dog trainers have to say. I don't go to galleries. I'm a New York artist, but I really don't find myself ever going to galleries or museums. I know this sounds strange, right? Everything you're seeing from me is sort of like my own invention, in that I do realize that because of pop culture that, you know, some of it's going to sink into me anyway. You know, I'll watch Saturday Night Live and shit, you know, but I mean, I really don't find myself like, oh, I'm out of ideas, let me go see what somebody else is doing. Where I see a lot of people doing that with my shit, especially in the Bigfoot world. I see some people copying me directly. But Joe Dirt, you know, I get, it's a compliment. It is a compliment, don't get me wrong. Charles Manson, I really think, is a compliment too. You know, I think you're being complimentary. And the other comics that you seem to point out that I'm sort of look like or whatever, I think that it's complimentary too. I don't take this as a cut. I don't. I just don't really see the Joe Dirt thing. You know, David Spade. That, you know, it's as off as like the guy that got in my cab in Kansas City. You know, the black dude. You know, I just don't see it.